Hello, winners, and welcome to Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will. So, as you heard from last week, we have a special guest for you today. But before we go and introduce our guest, again, you're picking up on the theme. We're going to have a little series here around entrepreneurship, around the mindset it takes to have an entrepreneurial mindset, the courage and actions to take, and no reason to delay. And so today we have a fantastic guest who's going to expound upon that and give you a real life example about their journey with entrepreneurship that's led them to the success they have today. But before we jump into that, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow for Two for the Win across all the major platforms. And want to, again, thanks to Amazon best-selling author Nick Menard for sponsoring today's episode with his book, Mindset is My Degree. You can find that on Amazon and Audible. So without further ado, let me pass it over to my co-host Nick to introduce our special guest.
Thank you so much, Will. Yes, that's my pleasure, my honor today to introduce our guest. So, Eric lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Having recently relocated from Orlando, he used to be closer to us, but now he's back where he come from, which is Charlotte, North Carolina. He's the owner and founder of EBA Payments, a credit card processing firm, very, very successful in different states. I will not say too much. He's going to share that with us. He enjoys anything outdoor. He enjoys a cigar from time to time. I love it as well. Staying fit and trading Forex and options. He's 100% positive individual. That's why he's in our circle. He doesn't like any negativity in his life. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's so successful as an entrepreneur as well. So it's my pleasure to introduce to all of you Mr. Eric Bostic.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure for us to have you on our show. But yeah, basically, last week we spoke about, the first step for entrepreneurship, what step to do. And we thought who better to ask, as a guest to talk more about entrepreneurship than someone who has been through corporate America and then decided to build his own firm and then having the success you have, which is pretty phenomenal. So I will give you the floor to say a little bit more about your journey, and then we can go from there.
Well, being an entrepreneur for 18 years now, it's been a long journey. Started out, I became an entrepreneur by accident. Let me tell you that. I got laid off from a job. My wife was pregnant at the time. She had preeclampsia. She was on bed rest and she couldn't work. And I was working at a company called Timbar. And we had the Walmart account, or I had the Walmart account. So I was flying out to Arkansas quite a bit. And one Sunday they said, "Hey, you have our Monday morning meeting, be at the plant Monday morning, blah, blah, blah." So the plant was 85 miles away from my house. And drove down there. Something in my head told me to fill the gas tank with gas on the company card because it was a company trip. So I did. Pulled the Amex out, filled the gas tank up before I walked into the meeting. They shut the plant down, said, "Turn in your Amex cards, turn in your final expense reports and your laptops." And that was it. And I remember driving home. On the drive home, all I remember was getting in my car and backing in the driveway. An 85-mile trip. I couldn't tell you if the sun was shining, traffic was heavy, what I was wearing, nothing. I remember pulling out of that plant and backing into my garage 85 miles later. And I remember telling my wife, I said, "I promise you, I'm not going to sit around and draw unemployment. I'm going to find something that's mine that I can make it my own. And that's what I'm going to do." I found the credit card processing industry literally 2 days later. And I took to it like a fish to water, and the rest, as they say, is history, man. The rest they say is history.
Wow.
So yeah, I did very well. Just continue on. I did very well. 2 years in, I told my wife she didn't have to work anymore unless she wanted to.
Oh, wow.
And I started a medical supply company for her called Diversitas Medical Supply. And we ended up selling that back to Medline. because they had some product. We had some products that they wanted. So they bought her company. It was her company. So they bought her company. But 7 years in to my journey of entrepreneurship, First Data, the big credit card processing company out of Atlanta, they bought my company. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Basically funded
Not
my
like the Godfather, a legit one. Right?
Yeah. Funded my retirement, and I couldn't be in the industry for 5 years.
Oh,
Because
okay.
the amount was so significant, they didn't even want me in the industry, which led me down to Gartner, working with you and Will, as a team client manager, and worked at Gartner for almost 2 years. And during that 2 years, First Data lost the accounts that they had bought from my company, so they rescinded the non-compete.
Here we go.
That's why I got back in the credit card processing industry, and I've been running ever since, and I'm rebuilding my company, and things are going really, really well. Life is good, and I have zero complaints.
Awesome. Well, it leads me to my first question, Eric, because for the winners or audience, to understand better, you lost your job. You decided to take, the bull by the horn and just go to a journey that you had no idea about, if I understand correctly. So can you tell us and tell the audience what steps did you do in the beginning that you believe was a big impact for you to reach the success you had in the beginning?
Well, first and foremost, my background, I have a military background, so
Thank you for service.
I appreciate that. I'm big on systems and processes, and I'm kind of a neat freak, so I have to have everything in order. I had been kicking it around even when I was working for the other company. I'd been kicking around running my own business, because I just did not like the fact of having to ask someone if I could take a day off, or, I got to go to the doctor. I didn't like that. If I wanted to do something, I know what I've got to do. I'm a grown man. I can go do what I got to do, come back and stay focused and keep the train rolling. So really what it was something inside of me that I wanted. Not only did I want to make it happen with a pregnant wife in bed,
No choice.
it wasn't a want to, I had to. And I would get up in the morning, take my son to daycare, take my wife to work, and I would bust it all day long. Come home, pick my son up from daycare, give him a bath, go pick my wife up from work, come home, we'd have dinner. I did that for 2 years while I built my business. So it was really internal, man. I had the drive and the fortitude that I had to do it. I didn't have a choice. And I was out there in the streets of Charlotte, building a business one brick at a time. And when I look back, I had a whole wall. You don't focus on the wall. You just focus on laying the brick. I was laying bricks, and I turned around and there was a long wall. And
Wow.
that's really what it was, man. Just internal, keeping everything in order. I knew it was a numbers game. If I knocked on 10 doors, I'd probably get 6 people to talk to. Of those 6 people, I'd probably get 2 to 3 to schedule an appointment. If those 2 to 3 to schedule an appointment, I'd make 1 to 2 sales. I did that every day. The average industry rep in our industry at the time was doing 6 to 8 deals a month. I was doing 16 to 18.
Wow.
Starting out. So my runway I was getting it.
Wow. I think 2 things, and then I'll leave it to you, Will, because I know you have a lot of questions on that. You mentioned so many interesting things. First of all, the drive mindset. It's 100% that you had no choice. You had to. So when we put our mindset into achieving something, and no rights to have a mistake happening or not have the money coming in, and then the mentality of numbers game, meaning you need, your numbers,
numbers.
10 that knocking at the door 10, 3 will slap the door back to you, and it's okay. One less to think about, and then you go to the next one. But that mindset for 2 years to have a rhythm and a structure that you learn at the army, that makes everything, the life so much easier for you the first 2 years. Not easier, but you know what I'm saying? You have that habits to do the right thing every single day without stopping. So very good for winners to think about it. You know, like put your mindset into I will receive a lot of no's and it's okay. The yes will be at the end of the no's. So go ahead.
Right. That's right.
No, that was great. I think, just echoing Nick, there's a lot of really good things. And, obviously life circumstance created that sense of urgency and, having that focus helps a lot. But I guess, as you reflect back when you're first making the foray into being an entrepreneur, was there anything that you encountered where you're like, okay, this is really different from the military. This is really different from being an employee at a company, where you kind of had to go through the experience and learn to really fine tune your system and process of cultivating your business?
Yes, it was. The first thing was time management because as an entrepreneur, you wear all of the hats, from being the janitor, the admin, the the appointment scheduler, the salesman, the installation, and customer service. I had to wear all the hats. So time management was key. Man, I remember some days, man, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And sometimes at night I would be shutting it down, and 9:30 at night, I'd still be, this is when we had the Palm Pilots. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Those
Yeah.
little styluses on them. I'd be doing things with the Palm Pilot, and my wife was like, "Can you take our son for a little bit?" And I'm like, "Oh God, I got to do that too." So it was just, time management was huge. But once I got my head wrapped around the time management, things got simpler. And here's another tidbit for you entrepreneurs out there: once you start making money. And you guys know what I'm talking about when I say making money. You don't spend your time doing minimum wage jobs. And I don't say that to denigrate anybody doing minimum wage, but you don't spend your time doing minimum wage job. You spend your time doing revenue generating activities. You hire someone to do those other things because that frees you up for those revenue generating activities. Once that happened, my business really took off. And then after that, I started duplicating myself and hiring people, which is another tidbit for you guys, or a nugget, I should say, nugget of wisdom. Once you start hiring other people up underneath you, you duplicate yourself. And I think it's J. Paul Getty said, I'd rather have 1% of what 100 people do than 100% of what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
This is phenomenal. I love another lot of nuggets who came in here for our souls. So I love that. Is there anything that you did in the beginning that were mistakes and that you learned from that you can maybe share, show some vulnerability with the audience in order for them to maybe not make the same kind of mistakes that we all make when we start the entrepreneurship journey?
Yep. And it's ironic you say that, because I was just talking with my business mentor last week, and he gave me the same nugget because I've had the same business mentor for going on 15 years now. He gave me the same nugget of wisdom that he gave me way back then. Don't worry about growing too fast, because don't worry about getting big enough, because soon enough you'll be big enough. So you just focus on doing the things you're supposed to do to grow your business. And before you know it, your business will be big. So don't worry about having a big business. I say that to say my mistake was trying to grow too soon. And when I say grow too soon, I mean, I was trying to hire people too soon, and I wasn't ready. At that particular time, I wasn't ready. I was trying to, I've hit this certain level. I've, made this amount of money. I need to bring some people on, and, blah, blah, blah. And I would bring on 4 or 5 people at a time, and only one of them would make it. And I'm like, God, I'm kind of defeating myself because I'm spending all this energy with these 5 people and only one of them are making it. When, 2 at a time, you bring on 2 people at a time, and you can focus on 2 people, and then those 2 people make it. And then you bring on 2 more people, and the 2 people that you helped get trained before, they help you get those people trained, because it's going to train them even more. Because when the teacher starts teaching, they know they have to be on point. and it's a self-fulfilling process. And I ended up having 26 sales reps before First Data bought my company.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
I was the number one sales office for First Data in the Southeast.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. No, congratulations. I guess just going back a little bit more on the memory lane, because what we were talking about in the previous episodes were, whether somebody wanted to jump in full-fledged into entrepreneurship or start something on the side and really start to build it so that eventually can continue to grow. Like, what brought you to credit card processing? Because it obviously was very different than what you were doing at the time.
Okay. I'm going to answer that question first, and then I'm going to go back to the other question.
Okay.
What brought me to credit card processing was, I just lost my job, so I'd been scarred from that. And, just to keeping it real, when I sobered up, I found the credit card processing industry because, I had a couple drinks that day.
Yeah. Old fashioned.
And, yeah, I have a couple. I had a lot. Anyway, what got me was the fact that I could sign up an account, make a commission, and then as long as I had that account, I was going to get money. I was going to get paid every month on that account, that residual income.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I can do this. And when I say I took to it like a fish to water, I took to that industry like a fish to water. Because I'm already good with numbers and percentages. So when I'm talking with a customer, those things just flow out of my brain and from my brain to my mouth and right out to the customer. It's just, I had so much confidence with it. That's, it was just easy for me. So that's what led me to the credit card processing industry. I found it by accident. Wasn't looking for it. I was just looking for a way to make money and just answered an ad and did the interview. And I was like, you mean to tell me ... Sign me up.
Yeah. It's
Now,
like financial services, right? Like
exactly.
insurance and
Exactly.
investments because of
And
the
to circle back,
Yeah.
to circle back to the first question, part-time versus jumping in full-time or just starting part-time. I tell my agents, because I hire a lot of people who have full-time jobs and they start out with me part-time, but the credit card processing industry is so lucrative. I tell them, look, if you do X, Y, and Z diligently for 6 months, I guarantee you your part-time pay is going to equal or exceed your full-time pay. Then you've got a decision to make.
Yeah. That's a good problem to have.
Yep. Yeah. And I had, some of my best agents started out with me part-time. I'll never forget a young lady. She was working at Target, full-time working at Target and just doing accounts with me on the side. And she emailed me one day and said, Eric, my residual, she just got a residual check. She said, my residual check is more than my full-time, monthly full-time check at Target. And I just turned in my notice. And I was like, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she lives in Charleston, South Carolina today, and she's still in the industry.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's super cool. No, I love that. I love the nugget you mentioned also earlier about the mentorship. So that's something that I brought up last week, Monday, about Will was asking me, what is the one nugget? I'm like, find yourself a mentor. And then that mentor, you're lucky, you have the same one for 15 years. But what I mentioned is, you will have more than one mentor in your life probably, and it's okay, but dare to ask someone that is where you want to be. And that person will most likely, if they see that you are serious about it, will have no problem helping you because they see something like that. Can you share a little bit more? You don't have to say the name or be in detail, but share a little bit more the impact of your mentor in your journey.
Yeah. And I don't mind sharing his name. I do it all the time. His name is Patrick Johnson, and he works for the Tom James Company in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he was my sales leader when I worked at Tom James. And there are 3 people I talk to before I make any big decision. Number 1 is God. Number 2 is my dad. Number 3 is PJ.
Awesome.
Wow. None of those 3 are going to let me down. Circling back to PJ, and I call him PJ, Patrick Johnson, PJ. He has been invaluable to me. The nuggets of wisdom that he drops on me, and just from the times that he's told me that when I'm got to make a decision, and he's like, "Well, Eric, just take a step back from it. Look at it from a 30,000-foot view. At 30,000 feet, what does it look like? Now step into it. At 100 feet, what does it look like? just to give me different perspectives. And when it came to training and mentoring my sales reps, Patrick used to always tell me, you can't lead where you can't teach what you don't know, and you can't lead where you won't go. So I can't tell a sales rep to go and do something if I haven't been there and done that myself and know what's going to happen. So, and I use that one to this day. You can't teach what you don't know, and you can't lead where you won't go. So those are invaluable ones. And sometimes, and this is one I used not even a month ago. Um, I have a sales rep, and he is rocking and rolling, and he's trying to do things so fast, so fast, so fast, and he's being successful at it. And I was debating, should I let him run? Should I rein him back in? And I was talking to Patrick about it, and PJ said, "You know what, man? You can't put a saddle on Mustang. You just gotta let him run. Let him run. If he makes a mistake, that's when you get him back in. But right this time, let him run. He's making sales and he's building his business. So just the things that Patrick gives me, the one-liners, it just stops me in my tracks and it makes me think. Because one of my faults is I'm impulsive on certain things. He calls it pouncy. He said, "Eric, you're being pouncy. You're being pouncy." So he just tells me just to stop, take that 30,000 foot back up, look at it from 30,000 feet, then come in at 100 feet and look at it. Does it look the same? Does it look different? If you do X, what's the result? What's going to happen with Y? And you just looking at things from a different perspective and just getting me to slow down. That's one of the things that I've gotten the most from PJ. And I try to do that and give my sales reps, mentorship. I email my sales reps, 2 or 3 times a week, just give them nuggets of wisdom and just to touch base with them, to let them know I'm with them out there and that I'm a resource for them. And that's the main thing, mentorships, what mentors can do for their people they're mentoring.
Yeah, for sure. No, and it gave me something that was so real powerful what you shared. So, but here's a little levity. Like, I'm going to think next time I'm in the grocery store line and I'm grabbing for that candy bar, I'm going to think, don't be pouncy. Don't be pouncy, Bill.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, guess what? It's not going to work.
You guys are bad.
No, it's awesome. You touch on something else, and obviously you've now built your organization multiple times. You built a business where you had a lot of people in business with you. Assuming most of the people that you're working with are located in areas other than where you're at, like, what are some tips that you have for like people who are, leaders who lead multi-geographic teams, and how do you stay? You mentioned you touched base with them a couple times. Maybe expand upon that a little bit more if you don't mind.
Yep. I try to email them, 2 to 3 times a week on Mondays and Fridays, and maybe just a little touch point or something during the week. I try to keep them informed. If you can keep them informed on things that are going on in the industry, products, services, things from the company, that helps. Anything to motivate them. Because if they're in multiple geographic locations, you can't reach out and touch them or go per se be in the field with them. So you've got to touch them mentally. Sometimes, it doesn't hurt for them to say, "Hey man, you call all the time." That's, cause I want to be involved. I want to know what's going on. I'm trying to help you. I'm here to help you. So use me as a resource. Abuse me.
Yeah.
I have a thing that I tell my sales reps that if they're in the field with a customer and they need help, to call me and say, "Mr. Bostic," cause that lets me that's the code word that lets me know immediately that they're with a customer. They need help closing a deal. So I can shift my mind into saying, I'm just going to use you as an example, Nick. "Hey, Nick, what's going on, my man? Shooting the BS with you." "Okay, Nick, tell me about your customer Will there and what they got going on." I can shift mentally and do that. So that's how I do that.
No.
I have to say, I know you for almost 8 years now, Eric, and I'm lucky enough to work with you as well. And everything you state are true. The mail you sent are extremely positive and motivational for all your teams, and that's that I'm sure that not every leader in the industry are doing the same thing as you do, and you are always there to answer any question. I saw it from my own eyes, and I saw what you were doing. It's phenomenal. There's no secret for me about the fact that you are so successful because you care. And I think caring is so important as a leader.
I appreciate that.
And definitely when you are building something across different states like you do, it's phenomenal. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
And there was no doubt in my mind that you was going to reach whatever you're reaching. But we are almost on time. But I want to any last advice that you want to give or winners who are listening today? First of all, we will have all the description in the bottom also about Eric, where to find him for EBA, for his business as well. If you have like yourself, a retail store or anything like that you need help with credit card processing, more than happy will be, Eric's detailed contact information will be in the bottom. But any final advice that you want to give to our audience who wants to go into entrepreneurship, but they're afraid, they're almost there, but they're like, I don't know if it's a good time.
You know what? I'm going to echo what Steve Harvey says. Just jump. Just jump. You'll figure it out. Just jump. You're going to get some scrapes and bruises, on your entrepreneurial journey. It's not an escalator. You're going to have a lot of ups and downs, but it's just like the stock market over time, and you're going to keep going if you stay with it. So just jump, take your nicks and cuts and bruises, heal from them, and keep going forward. Drive on, left foot, right foot, lean into it. Yeah. And it gets better. And once you get through the quote unquote swamp, the water clears up and it's crystal clear in white sand beaches.
There we go.
Absolutely. Well, you dropped so many golden nuggets, my friends. It's phenomenal. We want to thank you for willing to jump on this. And again, we're gonna make sure that everybody have your contact information for any reference to EBA or someone who wants to connect with you. Maybe someone who wants to become an agent. I know that you always looking for new talent. So that's something that may be also good. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, the audience. I appreciate everybody very much. Bye.
Okay, winners. So you heard a lot of nuggets that Eric dropped. So fantastic and so grateful for him to share the insights that he did. Really actionable things, practical things that you can apply, both from a mindset perspective as well as an approach to take in terms of fostering your own entrepreneurial endeavor. So thanks again for Eric Bostic with EBA Payments for spending time with us today. And please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow 2 for the Win on whatever is your favorite platform and share it with others. And again, thanks to best-selling author Nick Menard and his book, Mindset is My Degree, that you can find on Amazon and Audible. So that will do it for this week. Winners, make sure you tune in next week when we continue on the next segment of this series around entrepreneurship. Until then, be well. We'll chat soon. Take care.